Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is the great adventure. How different might life be if we were to experience it from or through a lens of discovery and curiosity? What if each moment was a moment for this great adventure, and how much more vitality and richness might we be able to experience in life if we took that attitude of adventure. So we're going to explore that today. Good morning, Rosalind. Welcome. It's so good to have you here with us this morning, and welcome to everybody else who's joining us. Before we embark on our adventure for today, let's take a couple minutes to get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, all your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together and vigorously rub your hands together to feel that friction, the pressure, the temperature, the motion, the tickling and tingling when you stop, and allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So good morning, good evening, Gia. Welcome. So good to have you joining us today. And we're talking about the great adventure. What if, really, truly, what if, even in our toughest moments, we were able to identify with life or experience life through the lens of discovery and adventure? I've said to you before that curiosity is the antidote to judgment. And also curiosity enables us to have a different degree of presence than we might otherwise have when we are just completely immersed in situations and become reactive and activated. And what if we are curious? What if we could stand back and just say, isn't that interesting? What's going on here? To get curious instead of thinking that we know. A family member used to, and doesn't anymore, which is really fascinating, but used to say very, very frequently, the answer is, and it used to, I used to be maddened by it because it was like, who asked? And it's not so much in the answer as it is in the question. Like here you are answering a question that was never asked. And what about being in the question? Being curious instead of having to know or pretending to know. So I think that that's the portal. Curiosity and discovery is a portal to a new paradigm. a new way of relating rather than through our righteousness, through our sense of wonder and inquiry, the willingness to be learning and evolving and expanding, developing, instead of being in this fixed place of I know, and I like it or I don't like it. And it was so interesting talking to one of my clients yesterday who found herself in a situation where she got very reactive, very angry, and actually channeled her anger in a very positive way to right a slight that she perceived, not even on her specifically, but on another person. And she used it in a way to really embody her values and empower others. And so it was good. And what she noticed is that part of her indignation had to do with certain assumptions about what another person's agenda was or what their purpose was. And it was beautiful to hear her recognition that, in fact, she really didn't know what that person's agenda was. That was her assumption that she was imposing on this other person. And then she reacted to their response or their actions as a response, and that infuriated her. So it was beautiful because it kind of outlines so much of the way that we navigate in the world, right? Like here, she made an assumption about somebody else, and then based on their behavior compared to what that assumption was, she saw an incongruity and got really angry about it. And then realized, hey, you know what? They didn't necessarily sign up for that. They didn't necessarily agree to my interpretation of what they were up to. And so it was it was a beautiful awakening on her part and a beautiful illumination. And really what sparked it was a willingness to be not knowing, to be curious, to say, you know what, I wonder what they were up to. I wonder what they were thinking, rather than I know. Green smoothie for breakfast here. So I've seen this over and over when we make a judgment on someone else or on ourselves, for example. Let's say we see ourselves behaving in a way that's reactive rather than berating ourselves and being upset and angry and judging ourselves. There's a tremendous power in getting curious, like what was going on that impacted me the way that it did. What was I thinking? Where did that come from? Like what precipitated that? What are the mechanisms? Because when these reactions occur for us, they are presenting us with an opportunity for deeper insight and potential healing. It's interesting. I don't know that this is completely in line with what we're talking about, but I had another client yesterday where there was this wonderful situation, and curiosity. If we're living from a place of life is happening for me, it's a very different experience than life is happening to me, right? So here's this person in a situation, in a job that they're doing a really remarkable job, and they're a very, very, very committed. They're in their role, very committed to making a difference in a major institution. And what happened was there's a lot of struggling and discord in the board of this organization, and corruption that this person was aware of. And in the this is probably an oversimplification, but in the attempt to address some of that corruption, this person became a target. And the board sort of made them the villain, and this person was getting people showing up at their house because the board released information on them, their phone number, their address. People were just showing up. They were getting harassed. There was all this intrigue, and they were kind of an emotional mess, super stressed, and the board was playing games and kind of holding them hostage to be waiting for a phone call from an investigator that was investigating them. And, all this intrigue. And you can imagine how that could stress one out to the max, right? And so this person was just kind of a mess. And as we were talking, it turned out that they have this dream of moving back home and creating this homestead. And their intention was to wait 5 years to do that. And yet their whole family's there, and they're being called there. And we looked at this situation and said, well, what they decided to do was to move back home and start getting active around this homesteading thing. And they were still kind of in limbo, waiting for what was going to happen with the board and all these other legal things that had to happen. And we said, well, why wait? You already know what you're going to do. That's going to unfold the way it's going to unfold, but why do you have to be held in limbo? Why not start moving on your dream? And the fact of the matter is that this person would have forestalled their dream for 5 years. And what happened with all the intrigue and upset gave them the catalyst to pry them out of their position, because they would have stayed there kind of against all odds, digging in because of their commitment. And instead, the extreme situation was such that it pried them out of their position. And it's interesting to use the word pride there too, because it would be partly pride that kept them there, fighting to make it right and save it, kind of thing. And so instead of being the victim of this assault from these adversaries, they ended up being the catalyst for this person's dreams come true, and really facilitating that dream happening more quickly than they were going to allow it for themselves. So it's kind of a beautiful, beautiful story about how life is happening for us, even if it doesn't look like that, right? It looked like all this awfulness was happening, when in fact, here was this amazing opportunity that is really what their heart desired, but that they wouldn't have given to themselves without this catalyzing circumstance. Rosalind says, so the obstacle was to overcome not waiting for external circumstances before starting venture. Well, so there were a good question. There were a couple obstacles, right? Initially, the obstacle to having the dream was having this fixed idea about career and commitment and career trajectory and when retirement should happen and having a mission in this business. And so the dream was put off to the future. So what happened? So Rosalind says, was that giving permission to self? Yes, 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 yes. So what happened was that it had to be a very extreme and very uncomfortable and untenable situation in order to be saying, what the hell am I doing here? You know, why am I doing this to myself? Let me just go do what I want, be with my family and the people that I care about. And why am I struggling and suffering here when I could be there? Like giving permission to oneself to say, you know what? I'm finally going to go for what I care about. And sometimes it takes a really extreme situation to allow us to give ourselves permission. So when I was 40, I decided I just was so unhappy, and I decided I was going to commit suicide. And I had a moment of grace where I stepped back and I said, okay, you know what? Get some help. You need some help. And I did. And as a result of the extreme discontent that I had felt, I gave myself permission to follow my desire, which was to pursue more education around art and animation and multimedia, etc. And I allowed myself to go back to school and do something that I really wanted to do, because I had been so unhappy that I was willing to end it. It was that extreme a situation that I needed to give myself permission to follow my dream. And so this person experienced this extreme situation, and it was necessary for that extreme to give herself to permission to follow the dream. And also to not have to be at the effect of others. It's like she knew that she was going to follow her dreams. So why wait? Why wait to hear what they're doing? Why not get active and take action that is going to support you in the direction you want to go, rather than being kind of at their whim? You know, they're playing games and she really doesn't care about the game anymore. She's not interested in continuing there. She's like, okay, I'm done. I'm out of here. So why wait? And it was remarkable. It was remarkable to see the transformation. And actually, Rosalind, she literally said, I just needed to give myself permission. And we can get so locked in to the reaction to circumstances. If we can zoom out, we can see a bigger picture, and we can recognize, oh my gosh, as messed up as this whole thing is, it's a profound gift. And it took it being that messed up in order to be able to give permission to make the choice that is the life affirming choice. And so then she could get over it being as messed up as it is. And she doesn't have to be so embroiled in it, because she sees it as a vehicle to the fulfillment of her dreams. And it was a transformation like that. It was in the space of less than an hour conversation to go from burdened and victimized and held hostage and trapped to free and following a heart's desire. Is rather miraculous, right? Did this external circumstances change? Not one bit. The external circumstances did not change one bit. What changed was allowing the pursuit of what was deep in the heart. And so part of that is the curiosity and the discovery. It's like, okay, life was giving her not just some lemons, but bushels of lemons. And she turned it into a lemonade stand, not just lemonade, but a lemonade stand. I mean, we have the ability. It's like, if we're curious, if we allow this to be a great unfolding adventure, if we are in a place of discovery, it's remarkable how things can change on a dime. And all that changed was her internal state. All that changed was the way that she was conceptualizing what was happening, right? Because otherwise this would be prolonged, and she had to be waiting by the phone to hear from this investigator, and she needed to be local because she didn't know if they were going to call her in for a personal review, and she felt like her hands were tied. It was like, well, why are your hands tied? Why not get on with what you want to do and take the actions you need to make that happen while they're doing whatever they're doing, thinking they're torturing you. Like they're trying to play a mind game, and here she is, free as a bird in her mind now, because she doesn't need the outcome that they think she needs. So it's pretty miraculous, right? And sometimes we need to put ourselves in extreme circumstances or generate extreme circumstances in order to give ourselves permission to do the thing that really we need and want most to do. It's really interesting. It's really, really interesting. Yeah, as human beings, we go through so many different states, and it's quite remarkable how quickly a state can transform by a twist of mind. And I see it all the time. A twist of mind, a shift of energy, being curious. Rosalind says, coming to terms with not being able to change someone. I painted the person in a new costume like they're playing a role. What if they are Buddha in disguise? Let's see what Buddha is going to do, like seeing a movie. Yes, 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 Rosalind, 100%. What you did was you created a shift of mind. You created a level of curiosity. We think we know other people and how they're going to respond. I was hearing I think it was a podcast talking about relationship and how to keep a relationship fresh. And we make these assumptions that we know how another person's going to react. And in fact, we don't. We may have a greater sense of how they'll respond, but you don't know with certainty. And when we have curiosity, that's a powerful thing. And the other thing is to be noticing that the person over there is my projection. Like I'm the one that is creating the interpretation of the person over there. And so if we put them in another costume, if we look at them as aspects of ourselves, because we do project ourselves outward to that person, and that's how they appear. If we look at them with curiosity, perhaps as life reflecting and teaching itself, expanding itself, then our experience is very different. It's like, I get so annoyed when they do that. Well, so is that about them or is that about me? Right? What's up with me that it gets to me so much? What's going on with me that I'm so reactive? We talk to other people and say, stop stepping on my triggers, right? Stop stepping on my buttons, trying to control somebody else. It's my button. I'm the one responsible for the button. Maybe I can clean up the button instead of trying to control somebody else's behavior around it. I can remove myself from the situation if it's too painful or disruptive, but is it, what's the deal there as far as now I will say that some people overtly go out to press your buttons, and those might be people that you don't necessarily want to be around, or maybe you do, so that your buttons become less powerful, less active. But curiosity shifts it all, and it's all about asking the best questions, right? So I don't mean curious like what's wrong with me kind of questions, because what's wrong with me is just a really bad question. It's kind of like, so did you kill your wife at 9 in the morning or 12 at night when you're not even married, kind of thing, like, let alone killed somebody. We don't want to make negative assumption type questions. And like, what's wrong with me? Bad question. It would be like, what might be going on for me to be able to have that kind of behavior? What's happening under the hood here that is activating me in that way? Anyway, discovery, the great adventure. Try it out. Notice how life is different when you view it as a great adventure. There are ups and downs in adventure, right? There are struggles, there are challenges, there are triumphs. And what if that's really the nature of our lives, this great unfolding adventure? So with that, I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I invite you to check out the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network and Enlightened World Living. And as always, it is my delight and privilege to have these moments to share and a forum for our thoughts together. And until next time, so much love to you.